Welcome to Business Beyond the Strategic Plan. On this series of programs, we are sharing to you what we are calling the 5 pillars of organizational transformation. The 5 pillars of organizational transformation, and our aim is to review or bring out to you concepts that will help you, implement your strategic plan and also organizational transformation program. The message which we are coming to you with is that whenever an organization develops a business strategy or a strategic plan, that is really not the end of business, but there are things and concepts and principles which business leaders need to know behind the scenes if they are going to successfully implement their strategic plans and foster the growth of the businesses which they are leading. So in this program, we are sharing what we are calling the 360-degree paradigm of leadership site. The 360-degree paradigm of leadership site. Now, we begin from this point. One of the first things we need to understand is that strategic planning and organization transformation are centered on the vision conceived by the leader in that organization. Now, the question which probably we'll begin asking is, what is vision? There are a lot of definitions of what vision means, but my personal simple definition is that vision is simply a desired end yet to be unattained. Vision is simply a desired end yet to be attained. Now, whilst we are talking about vision, it is important that I bring this important concept to your understanding. One thing we need to understand is that man has got two sets of eyes. The first set of eyes is the physical eyes. By these physical eyes, we are able to maneuver in the natural environment. We are able to see objects, see things, perceive, interpret, and then come up with an understanding and make a decision. Then the second set of eyes is what we are calling the eye of the mind. Now, what is the difference between these two sets of eyes that I have mentioned? Number one, the natural eye captures objects in the natural environment, like I have stated. Then the eye of the mind captures concepts in the knowledge environment. I prefer to call it the world of words. Now, why are we talking about these two types of eyes? It is because if we are going to talk about vision of an organization, then there has to be an ability to see, because vision is a product of sight. First you see, then from what you see, you create a vision and interpret your environment. So we need to understand exactly which sets of eyes of the man, function to come up with a vision of an organization and then interpret it into something which is going to be workable in the business. So now, whenever we talk about leadership side, we are not talking about the ability to see with the natural eyes, but with the eye of the mind. It is often said that if the blind lead the blind, I'll finish that one for you, then they will both fall into a ditch. Now, what kind of blindness do you think is referred to in this expression? Is it natural blindness, or is it the blindness of the mind? Actually, what we need to understand is that when we talk about this presentation, what we are talking about is not really natural eyes, but we are talking about the eyes of the mind. A well-developed mindset will guarantee effective leadership. A well-developed mindset will guarantee effective leadership. What are we talking about? The eyes of the mind, I personally prefer to call it mindset, is what enables you to see effectively, in your business environment and make decisions that will ultimately take your business forward. So now, in order to develop a good mindset, you need to understand the 360-degree paradigm of leadership site. And this is the concept that we want to introduce to you in this presentation. Now, what is the 360-degree paradigm of leadership side? I will explain it in this way. I want you to picture this. Two people are sent from a developed country into an undeveloped country to go and survey, the possibility of establishing a shoe company. Now, these two people, the first one, when he goes, he finds or discovers that the people in that place actually don't wear shoes. So he comes back to the people that sent him and says, look, we can't do business there because the people in that place do not wear shoes. So there's no market for shoes. Now the second colleague goes to the same place, and when he finds that the indigenous people of that place actually don't wear shoes, he sees way beyond what the first person sees. He goes back to his people and says, look, I went to that place and people were not wearing shoes. There is great potential for business because there is no competition there. Now, what makes those two people different? It is the ability to see clearly with the eyes of the mind and conceive a vision from what they were able to see. One saw that there was no potential for business, but the other one saw that there was potential for business, and he brought back that same report to the people that sent him. So now from this scenario, we understand that every person has got mental maps called paradigms through which they see the world. Now, paradigms are developed through acquired knowledge and belief systems. And the paradigms you have created around your subconscious mind will determine how you interpret situations. Remember the story of the two people. The first man had a different paradigm, and when he went into the undeveloped place, he interpreted the situation the way that his mind had been programmed. The second person also did the same, but he interpreted the situation in a different way according to the programming of the mind. So now, how do you create the right paradigm to help you interpret situations better in a business environment? You do this by using the 360-degree paradigm of leadership side. Now, this is how the 360-degree paradigm of leadership side works. I will explain it to you in what I'm calling the Archer's concept. In this concept, if you look at our picture there, we have a boy holding a bow and an arrow about to shoot. Now, three things happen before this boy releases the arrow to shoot. The first thing is that he draws the arrow backwards. After he has drawn the arrow backwards, then he begins to reposition himself to aim at the target before he shoots. Once he is sure that the target he is seeing is the target he wants to hit, then he releases the arrow and shoots at the target. Now, from this scenario, we are able to derive an understanding of what the 360-degree paradigm of leadership really is and how we can make use of it to improve our leadership side and see correctly, where there are opportunities and where there are dangers and risks for our business. So now, here are the three stages of the Archer's concept. I'll explain them in a little bit more detail now. So the first stage is what I call the retraction stage. If you remember the picture we saw, the boy drew the arrow backwards, he retracted it. Now, this retraction stage is a representation of going back into history, because what we are talking about, in these three stages is the knowledge that a person acquires to build the mental maps that will help them make proper decisions, that will help them see clearly, that will help them, conceive the right vision for the organization. So the first stage is the retraction stage. At this stage, the boy drew the arrow backwards. So what are we saying? You need to have access to historical information about an organization you are leading, because history, just like the boy drew the arrow, because when the boy draws the arrow, he adds potential to the arrow. So in the same manner, history has got a way of injecting potential into the mind of a leader so that, he can be ready to shoot into the future and conceive a vision which will drive the business forward. So what I'm simply saying is that if you are a leader in an organization, you need to understand the history of the organization if you are going to see clearly in that business environment and make the right decisions. You need to have knowledge of the past. Where is the business coming from? How did it start? What challenges has it been facing? How has it grown? What transitions has it, made? As you understand your past, the past, events and activities of the business, it will help you to reposition your mindset to make better decisions in the future of the business. So stage one is the retraction stage, where you need to understand the history of the organization which you are leading. The stage two is the repositioning stage. Remember what we said? When the boy draws the arrow, he retracts. It's a representation of history. Then now, after he has retracted, he begins to reposition himself to aim at the target. Now, to reposition is a representation of present knowledge. Remember, we said paradigms are created by knowledge, the knowledge that we are exposed to. So there is past knowledge, that's stage one. Then there is present knowledge, that is stage two. So what is stage two demanding for? Stage two is demanding for the leader, to understand the business in its present moment. How is the business performing? What are the parameters that we are supposed to, consider and pay attention to drive the business forward? The business leader must pay attention to the knowledge, in the present state of the business. They must understand the statistics. They need to gather the right reports, interpret them correctly, have a very clear understanding of where the business is sitting at that particular moment. So that stage is the repositioning stage, where you understand the advantages, disadvantages, the potentials, the opportunities, the risks at present for the business. Then the last stage, is stage three, which is the projection stage. Now, this is where the boy shoots the arrow or lets go of the arrow so that it goes into the direction where he wants to go. He wants it to go. Now, at this stage, this is where the vision for the organization is created, because when somebody has an understanding of the past knowledge of the company and they understand what is happening at present, they are better positioned to shoot into the future. Now, how do you shoot into the future? You shoot into the future by imagination. You use hypothetical representations of the past and present knowledge that you have. Then you project your company into the future. So this one really takes imagination, and it is at this stage that we define the vision for the organization. So those are the three stages of the Archer's concept, which represents to us the 360-degree paradigm of leadership in a business, in a government, or any institution that demands for leadership to move forward. Now, having explained the three stages of the Archer's concept, one might be wondering to say, but why are we calling it the 360-degree paradigm of leadership knowledge? Why are we calling it the 360-degree paradigm? Now, this is where the concept of 360 degrees paradigm comes from. When you look at this model on our presentation, you will see that there are 4 quadrants or 4 squares. Right at the bottom on your left is the first quadrant, and that first quadrant is representing past successes of an organization. Then the second quadrant is representing the past failures. The third quadrant is representing predicted future risks, and the fourth quadrant is representing predicted future successes. Then that area in the middle is showing us the present knowledge, both successes and failures, and opportunities and risks. Now, when you look at this representation, it's actually showing us that there are 4 stages or dimensions of knowledge which a leader needs to possess about their organization if they are going to build the correct mental paradigm and make better decisions for the organization. The first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, and fourth quadrant. And this is what makes up the 360-degree leadership paradigm, or the 360-degree paradigm of leadership side. It is these four quadrants, which are representing different areas of knowledge, which a leader needs to possess regarding an organization. Now, having provided that information, what should business leaders do in order to improve their mental maps and make better decisions for their organization? Number one, leaders need to value and document company history. This will help them to know the successes and the failures in the past and predict better the risks and the opportunities which lie ahead, and create a better vision for the organization. Then number two, they need to establish systems to capture and accurately interpret data. One of the challenges that most organizations make is that, one of the mistakes rather is that a leader will make a wrong decision based on wrong information, not because they don't have the capacity to make the right decision, but simply because they have been exposed to wrong information, which gives them wrong conclusion, and ultimately they misunderstand the direction which the business is supposed to take. So it is important that business leaders establish systems to capture and accurately interpret data. Then number three, leaders need to promote structured business publications, and this talks about journals, magazines, and all sorts of publications which businesses do. This usually helps to preserve culture, to preserve knowledge, and give those that are joining the business an opportunity to have a glimpse of what has been happening in the business. So it is important that organizational leaders promote the culture of publishing magazines, publishing journals, publishing write-ups which talk about the performance of the business. The number four, leaders need to establish strong staff development, succession policies. This is important, because the longer an individual stays in an organization, the better their mental paradigm regarding that organization. So it is important that succession policies are implemented so that people who are within the organization are considered for promotion, so that they can better contribute the knowledge they have acquired through the time they have been working in that organization. Then number four, reduce staff turnover, especially at decision making level. Usually what derails a business from going the right direction is the high rate of turnover of top level managers. I have personally seen this in organizations where this CEO comes in, goes out, another one comes in within a short period of time, and ultimately the business ends up losing direction. So if business leaders are going to build the correct mental maps and make the right decisions, then there has to be deliberate policies to reduce staff turnover at different levels of the organization. So thank you very much, and look forward to much more of our presentations. Now, to get more information of our materials, you can visit any of the following platforms or contact us on the details given below. We are on Facebook. We are also on YouTube, where we are uploading our videos. Then you can also email us on transformafrica.lbc@gmail.com, or you can personally email me using the email address elijahsinyiza@gmail.com. You can also call us on 0977 793584 or 0964 805 377. We are Transform Africa Leadership and Business Consultants, and our motto is pioneering growth in a constantly changing world. Thank you very much.